Hello, I am Jamie with Cornfields and High Heels, and I wanted to talk a little bit about traveling right now when it comes to places to stay overnight, such as hotels. So, typically, when I travel, especially if I've done any traveling since the pandemic, I have only stayed in Airbnbs. And the reason for this is because I really like the no contact, you're completely to yourselves. I always get a place to myself, like not a shared room or anything like that. Usually just a private home or condo to rent. However, I stayed in my first hotel room this past weekend since the pandemic, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what that was like. So, traveling right now is really scary for a lot of people, and understandably, you have to weigh the decisions of whether it's worth going where you need to go, whether it's to visit family or on a vacation. And you certainly have to do that to the best of your knowledge and for whatever is best for you and your family. With that being said, when you do travel, you want to keep in mind that each state has different guidelines right now. For Indiana, right now, we're currently towards the end of our stages. We're in like halfway between a 4 and a 5 stage, and stage 5 is like the final stage. So, hotels are open and they are doing well, the hotels that I know have been doing some great jobs on following the guidelines. Today I'm going to be talking about the Drury Hotels. I can't speak for the other hotel brands, but I can speak for what Drury Hotels are doing as far as following COVID guidelines. What you can expect from most hotels. As far as Drury, when we arrived, we wore masks. So a lot of people in Indiana don't wear masks. And I know the big mask debate is some people totally for it, some people are against it, some people in the middle. Personally, when I travel, we wear a mask to protect ourselves and others right now. And so we always recommend that when you're traveling and when you're making stops. So we road trip right now. We haven't flown by plane, and I don't plan to do that anytime soon. So we took a road trip this weekend and stopped overnight for one night, our first hotel. When we arrived, the Drury Hotel had all the social distancing markers in place on the floors of where to stand, where to go. In the lobby area, they also had everything separated for the 6 feet, but also things that they could not separate, they had X's marked across them so that you knew not to sit in those areas. So the reception area where you check in, they have the plastic shields up between you and the people working at the front desk. It's a no contact payment, so I booked my reservations online in advance. But when I got there, there was a place that for me to set my ID, and he looked at it and didn't touch it, and then I took it back. And there was also a table in between us to keep the 6 foot different distance between the check-in counter and myself. And I paid using my card, using a non-contact with the person working at the front. They did wear a mask, the people working at the front desk, and actually everybody working throughout the hotel. I didn't see anybody that was working there without a mask on. So things were a little different when it comes to the elevator situation. So that's something I did not think about. For the elevator, it was one person per elevator ride or your group. So whoever you were staying with in that room, you got to travel on the elevator. Made things a bit awkward going up and down and the elevator stopping at other levels that people are trying to get on. However, they have that in place for social distancing. So if you're staying at a hotel and it's a weekend, plan that you could be having to wait for the elevator unless you take the stairs. So if you're at a higher level, you may want to request a lower level to avoid this situation. As far as in the room, so there are things that were changed, I noticed, in the room. So one thing we love about the Drury Hotels is their beds. They're super comfortable, and their rooms are big enough usually to sleep all six of the people in our family. We were only traveling as a couple this weekend, so we only needed a one bed room. So at the Drury Inn, you can get suites. So it's one of the only hotels like that we don't have to buy two hotel rooms. We can get a suite with like 3 beds in it. So as far as the beds, it is just the pillows with the pillowcases, the sheets, and then a very thin like down mattress kind of thing in between the sheets. There's nothing else on the bed. Everything that's on the bed can be taken off and washed. I appreciate this. Even before the pandemic, anything else that was on the bed that I knew isn't typically washed grossed me out. So thank you, Drury Hotels, and please keep it this way in the future. Because I think before they used to have these decorative like blanket things at the end of the bed. Every time I'm at a hotel, I remove the things I automatically know are not going to be washed, like or may not have been washed before me. So nothing else is on the bed but that. As far as the Keurig maker, there is a Keurig maker in there, but nothing to make the coffee with. So they've removed all of that. There is still the refrigerator, still the microwave, and then in the bathrooms they have the individual dispensers with the shampoo, conditioner, and body wash. They've removed all notepads and pens and things like that from the hotel room. Anything that could be, I guess, touched or isn't as disposable, they've gotten rid of. So they are also sanitizing. There was a little note from our housekeeper in the room saying that it had been cleaned and disinfected. So I do know they are disinfecting like remote controls, alarm clocks, things like that get touched in the room. So the room was very clean. You know, we had no issues with our room at all. So good news on that end for the Drury Hotels. One thing the Drury Hotels does that we like and the perks that it offers is that they serve a kickback. They have a kickback hour. Usually this is between 5:30, 7:30 every night, and it's a free dinner or drinks and a snack. Each adult gets a drink card. They also have fountain sodas available and coffee available 24/7. So during this time, they serve things like baked potato bar, like with all the toppings, salads, soups, tacos, things like that. The night we were there, they were serving tacos. How this has changed. You no longer go buffet style and sit where you want. There is a line with spaces on the floor on where you can wait in line to get your food. And then there's a barrier put up, and there are employees behind that barrier serving your food into disposable containers for you. So you tell them what you want as you go through the line, and then you get that disposable container and utensils to either take to your room to eat or wherever you choose. Or if you choose to eat in the dining room, just know space is very limited. Due to the social distancing, a lot of tables have been removed. The night we were there, we just by chance happened to be able to get a table as somebody was getting ready to leave. However, if you're staying on a weekend, you may want to just plan to eat in your room. That perk, though, of getting the free dinner is still there. Just know it comes with some guidelines right now for your health and theirs. Breakfast is the same way, same setup. They serve a continental breakfast, and it's the same setup. As far as the fountain soda drinks that they have available until the evening every night, and the 24/7 coffee, you just now need to ask for a cup, and you cannot reuse that cup. So you can ask at the front desk for a cup. Once you're finished with that, if you would like a refill, you have to ask for another cup from the front desk. Those are just some of the many things that the Drury Hotels are doing during the pandemic right now, and will probably, I'm imagining a lot of hotels will continue having these same procedures in place even once this calms down. So a little bit of insight of how traveling for us was this weekend. Our first night at a hotel since the pandemic. It was we had no problems. It was an easy in and out. We wore our mask. We followed guidelines. The employees did as well, and we had a good experience.